Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, Advanced English Listening Practice. Topic name is How to Build a Daily English Routine You'll Actually Follow.
It's a topic that I think almost everyone can relate to. It's that universal challenge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of starting something new with so much energy.
Exactly. You start with this incredible momentum. You're absolutely determined you're going to master English this time.
New year, new me, all of that.
Right. But that initial surge of motivation, it burns out. And pretty quickly, too. And then you're left feeling, a bit guilty and just completely stuck.
It's the classic gym membership problem. You promise yourself you'll go every single day for 2 hours.
And you're basically promising to run a marathon immediately rather than just deciding to, say, walk for 10 minutes every morning. It's unsustainable.
And that's really the core issue we're doing a deep dive on today. We're looking at how to move past those huge, unsustainable promises.
Yeah, to deliver a kind of blueprint for a daily language routine that you will actually genuinely stick to.
It's about shifting the mindset then from seeing it as this huge obligation to something else.
To sustainable integration. That's the key phrase. We're trying to show you how those seemingly insignificant, small, daily efforts, they compound.
Like interest in a savings account.
That's a perfect analogy. We want fluency to feel not like some enormous distant mountain peak you have to conquer, but more like the inevitable result of just following a clear, consistent trail every day.
So if we had to boil it all down to one single truth, the one thing that separates the people who succeed from those who get frustrated and quit, what would that be?
Consistency. It truly is the secret sauce.
Not talent. Not having hours and hours to study.
No, we're completely dismissing the idea that you need these grueling multi-hour study sessions. Instead, the whole focus is on steady, repeated exposure.
So it builds on itself day by day.
Right, and that creates a foundation that's, resilient. It can handle the inevitable disruptions that life throws at you.
Okay, let's unpack that. I want to start with the science of why. Why is a short daily commitment so much more effective than, say, a 3-hour study blitz on a Sunday?
Well, it's all rooted in how our brains are wired to process and store language. I think the best place to start is with linguistic theory.
Sure.
Specifically, Stephen Krashen's theory of comprehensible input. It's a foundational idea in language acquisition.
And what does that theory say, in simple terms?
Krashen argues that we don't acquire language through forced intellectual effort. It's not about memorizing grammar rules. It happens much more naturally.
No.
It happens when you're exposed to language that is just slightly beyond your current level. He called it I+1.
I+1, so input plus one small step.
Precisely. That +1 concept is so critical. If the input is too easy, your brain isn't challenged, so you don't learn anything new.
But if it's way too difficult, you just get lost.
You get lost, you tune out, you get frustrated, and you quit. The key to this whole theory is regular exposure to that sweet spot. You have to surround yourself with English you can mostly understand and hopefully enjoy day after day.
So if you only do it once in a while, sporadically,
then the language never really registers as a living system in your brain. It just stays as a set of abstract rules you have to constantly fight to remember.
And that makes sense from a biological perspective too, right? These daily efforts are actually changing our brains physically.
They absolutely are. That daily engagement, even if it's just for 10 minutes, is actively building and reinforcing what we call neural pathways.
Okay, explain that. What's a neural pathway?
Think of your brain like a dense forest. When you first learn a new word or a grammar rule, it's like clearing a tiny little path. It's weak.
And it gets overgrown fast.
Very fast. But every time you walk that path, every single day you use that word or that structure, the path gets wider, clearer, more defined. Eventually it becomes a major highway.
So the information travels faster.
And more automatically. When English starts to feel intuitive, it's because those neurological connections are so strong that they fire without you even consciously thinking about it. You bypass that slow, clumsy translation process in your head.
That's the goal, right? To get past translating and just think in English.
That's the holy grail. And the daily routine is the most direct way to build those highways.
So let's talk about the enemy here. The thing that undoes all our hard work. Forgetting.
Ah, yes. The infamous forgetting curve. It is brutal. And it's incredibly efficient.
I've heard of this. How does it work?
Well, research going back more than a century shows that without any kind of reinforcement, the average person loses somewhere between 50 and 80% of new information.
50 to 80?
Yes, within just 24 hours.
Wow. Okay, that's That's a bit terrifying. So all that effort you put in yesterday learning 20 new words?
If you don't touch them again today, the vast majority of them are just gone, vanished from your short-term memory.
So the daily routine isn't just about adding new things. It's a defensive strategy.
That's a great way to put it. It's primarily a defensive mechanism to protect the knowledge you've already worked so hard to gain. It interrupts that steep decline of the curve.
And what's the best tool for that interruption?
It's a technique called spaced repetition, and this is a game changer. It doesn't just mean repeating something over and over.
It's about how you repeat it.
It's about intelligently spacing out your reviews. Some studies have shown it can improve long-term memory by up to 200%.
200%. That's an incredible number. So how does that work in practice for someone listening right now?
It's based on a really clever principle. You review material right at the moment you're about to forget it.
Okay.
So you test yourself on a new word today. If you remember it easily, the system tells you to review it again in, say, 3 days. If you still remember it then, you wait a week, then 2 weeks, then a month.
So the intervals get longer and longer.
Right. And what that does is it forces your brain to work a little harder each time to retrieve the information from your long-term storage. That active retrieval is what dramatically strengthens the memory.
So that's why a quick 10-minute review session is so much better than a long one.
It's exponentially more valuable. 10 minutes with a spaced repetition app like Anki or Quizlet is far more effective for long-term memory than 3 hours of just drilling new words that you won't see again for a whole week.
The science is just so clear on this. Consistency wins, hands down.
It really does.
Okay, so we're convinced. But before we can even start building a schedule, you say we have to start with step 1, the foundation of self-awareness.
Absolutely. You wouldn't build a house on shaky ground, would you? You have to check the foundation first.
So what does that mean for a language learner?
It means an honest evaluation. Learners have to be really self-aware and, more importantly, objective about their current baseline.
What's wrong with just having a feeling like, I think I'm intermediate?
It's useless. It's too subjective. We need data. I strongly recommend using one of the free placement tests available online. The British Council has a good one, or even a short assessment on a major language app. You need a quantifiable starting point.
A real number or a level?
Exactly. And then you need to break that down even further across what we call the 4 pillars diagnosis.
Because you can be strong in one area and really weak in another.
Very common. So you need that granularity to design an efficient routine. Let's start with the first pillar, listening.
This is a big one for a lot of people.
It's often the first skill to just completely break down under real-world pressure. So you have to ask yourself, can I follow a structured, slow podcast for learners, or does it confuse me? Or, on the other end, can I watch a fast-paced Netflix comedy without subtitles and actually get the jokes?
That's a huge range.
It is. And where you fall on that spectrum tells you if your routine needs a lot of targeted listening practice with transcripts.
Okay, pillar 2, speaking.
This involves both your fluency and your confidence. So can you confidently handle a complex transaction, like describing a technical problem to customer support? Or does just the thought of ordering a coffee in English make you freeze up because you're scared of making a grammar mistake?
The fear is a huge component of that one.
A massive component. Next is reading. This is about your ability to absorb sophisticated text. Can you breeze through a novel intended for adults, understanding the nuance and subtext?
Or does every single page feel like a vocabulary test where you have to look up dozens of words?
Right. That tells you whether you need to focus on reading comprehension strategies or just sheer volume of vocabulary.
And the final pillar, writing.
This really measures your active command of grammar and structure. Can you draft a professional email to a client with clarity and confidence? Or are your sentences, filled with confusion about verb tenses and awkward phrasing?
Admitting those specific weaknesses is really the key to making your daily practice efficient, isn't it?
It is. You stop wasting time on the things you're already good at. And for a really practical way to do this, we suggest a simple but very revealing exercise.
What's that?
A 10 to 15-minute journaling exercise in English. But don't just write about your day. Pick a complex topic. Your career goals, your opinion on a recent movie.
Something that will challenge you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then go back and review what you wrote. Which words did you keep using over and over? What complex idea did you have to simplify because you just didn't have the vocabulary for it? That little exercise will instantly highlight your linguistic gaps. It's incredibly valuable for setting goals.
That's a perfect transition. So once we have the map of where we are, we need to choose the destination. And that's the next part of the foundation, defining purpose and setting SMART goals.
This is so important. Your purpose is the engine. It's what keeps you going when that short-term motivation inevitably disappears.
You have to find your why.
You must. Is your motivation pragmatic? Like you need English for a promotion, or you're moving to another country? Or is it purely personal? Maybe you want to read your favorite author in the original English, or connect more deeply with your international friends.
And your daily routine has to be directly linked to that bigger purpose.
If it's not, it just becomes another chore on a very long to-do list, and chores get skipped.
So once you have that big why, how do you turn it into something you can actually do?
You apply the SMART framework. It's a classic for a reason: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
This is what moves us from just hoping to actually succeeding.
Let's take that generic, useless goal, I want to get better at English. It fails every single point of the SMART check.
So how do we refine that?
We make it specific. I will read one article daily from The Economist that's specific and relevant to, say, a business professional.
Okay, measurable.
And note 5 new contextually relevant words using Anki. That's measurable and achievable.
And time-bound.
I will maintain this streak for the next 3 months. Now see the difference. It's not a vague wish anymore. It's an executable project plan.
It's something you can actually check off a list, and this is where the real momentum starts to build.
Right. And we have to stress the importance of micro habits. They are the bridge between today's small action and tomorrow's fluency.
Fluency is the summit, but you can't just jump there.
No, you have to break the climb down into tiny trackable steps. These are the micro habits. And we're talking about habits that are so small, they're almost impossible to fail.
Like what? Give me an example.
Not read one chapter, but read one paragraph. Not learn 50 flashcards, but learn one flashcard.
Why so small?
Because it creates a psychological win every single day. That builds a powerful momentum streak. And tracking this progress, whether it's in a simple notebook or a gamified app like Abitica, reinforces your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who studies English every day.
And that identity shift is huge for long-term success.
It's everything.
Okay, one final piece of this foundation before we design the routine itself. Personalization. A one-size-fits-all plan is basically doomed to fail, isn't it?
It is. The routine absolutely must have what we call lifestyle fit. If you're a busy parent working irregular shifts, a routine designed for a college student with huge blocks of free time is never going to work for you.
So you have to look at your own life realistically.
Yes. If you're a commuter, you have this dedicated, non-negotiable audio time built into your day. That's a perfect resource for listening practice. If you're a night owl, scheduling a difficult writing task for 6 a.m. is just setting yourself up for failure and frustration.
You have to work with your natural rhythms, not against them.
And you have to account for your individual learning style. We can use the VARK model as a guide for this.
VARK, visual, auditory.
Visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. Let's break that down. If you discover you're primarily a visual learner, your routine needs to be packed with things like color-coded flashcards, watching videos with subtitles on, using mind maps to organize grammar.
So their 30-minute practice session will look completely different from an auditory learner's.
Completely. The auditory learner will thrive on analyzing music lyrics, listening to podcasts, and doing spoken dialogue practice on apps, maybe while they're out for a walk or at the gym.
And what about the people who learn by doing? The kinesthetic learners.
They need tactile, interactive practice. Their best routine would involve things like role-playing different scenarios, playing language games, or even just physically labeling objects around their house. The core principle is this. If the routine fights your natural learning style, it's always going to feel like drudgery.
But if it aligns with your style,
it feels almost effortless, and it's rewarding. This bespoke, tailored approach is what turns a chore into a genuine, lasting habit.
Okay, the foundation is set. We've done our self-assessment, we have our SMART goals. Now for the fun part, step 2. Designing the actual daily activities.
And we're targeting a really manageable commitment here, about 30 to 60 minutes total per day.
But not all at once.
No, and that is the key. It should be strategically split across the day. This prevents that massive cognitive load that just leads to burnout. We're looking at 3 natural breaks.
Morning, midday, and evening.
Exactly. This lets us leverage our naturally fluctuating energy levels throughout the day.
Let's start with the morning kickstart, the ritual. Why is the morning so crucial?
It's the highest leverage time of your entire day. You're working with a fresh mind that hasn't been cluttered up with a million other responsibilities yet.
And there's a psychological benefit too, right?
Oh, a huge one. When you make English the very first non-negotiable thing you complete, You create this psychological win that sets a positive, productive tone for the rest of your day.
The goal here is to bind it to something you already do without thinking.
Yes, an existing, robust morning habit, like while your coffee is brewing or right after you brush your teeth.
So this block should start small and really focused. Maybe 10 minutes of vocabulary building.
That's perfect. This needs to be high-efficiency time. I can't stress this enough. Using an app like Anki here is a game changer because it perfectly automates that spaced repetition principle we talked about.
And we should be strategic about what vocabulary we learn.
Absolutely. Use a themed learning approach. Don't just learn random words. Focus on a theme for the week. Maybe it's words for business negotiations or nuanced words to describe emotions.
You mentioned moving toward more nuanced expression. Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Instead of just learning the word good, your flashcard should have its more powerful synonyms. Superb, exemplary, outstanding.
And you need context.
You must have context. On that same flashcard, you need to include a short, correct sentence that shows how the word is actually used in a natural setting. This stops you from just learning words you can recognize but can't actively use in a conversation.
Okay, so after that quick vocab burst, we could move into a listening warm-up for maybe 15 minutes.
Yes, and this is often best done passively. While you're commuting, making breakfast, getting ready for the day.
Where should people start with this?
Start with highly scaffolded content. Things like the BBC's 6-Minute English or specialized ESL news channels. They speak very clearly, they use native accents, but the pace is manageable, and they usually provide transcripts.
And then you progress from there.
As you get more comfortable, you can shift to intermediate content, like a TED-Ed video. The speaker is fluent, but the topic is usually really engaging and well-structured.
And this is where we need to upgrade our listening from just passive to active.
Right. We have an actionable tip for this. Jot down one new phrase or idiom you hear.
So don't just let it wash over you.
Don't just hear a phrase like hit the nail on the head. You need to write it down, define it, and then make a personal commitment to try and use it later that day.
Even if you just say it to yourself.
Even if it's only in your internal monologue. That act of moving from recognition to attempted production is a massive step in cementing that phrase in your memory.
Okay, that's a powerful morning ritual. Now let's move into the second phase of the day, midday integration. How do we keep the momentum going when the workday is in full swing?
Well, the midday break, whether it's lunch or just a quick coffee, is the perfect time to blend English into your existing downtime. This prevents you from feeling like you have to carve out this huge, intimidating block of time later in the evening when you're already tired.
So this is a great time for reading during lunch, maybe for about 20 minutes.
Yes, and you should target articles that are accessible but still challenging. Sources like The Guardian or The New York Times offer high-quality journalistic writing. If you prefer longer essays, Medium is an excellent resource.
And we can use tools to make this even more effective.
Definitely. Use an app like Readwise to capture and tag your highlights from the articles you read. What this does is it turns your reading session today into a future review session, automatically feeding your spaced repetition system.
And there's a way to test if you've actually understood what you just read.
Yes, the immediate summary challenge. As soon as you finish the article, close the app or the book. Then spend just 2 minutes either speaking out loud or writing a summary of the main arguments in your own words.
What does that tell you?
If you can only recall maybe 50% of the main points, it tells you that you need to slow down your reading speed and focus more on identifying the topic's sentences. But if you can summarize it fluently, you know that the I+1 level is just right for you.
We can also squeeze in some quick writing submits during this break, maybe for 10 minutes.
For sure. Keep a quick journal. It could be a few sentences describing your morning meeting, a fantasy dinner menu, anything. The key here is to lower the stakes.
It doesn't have to be a masterpiece.
Not at all. And use assistive tools. Something like Grammarly isn't just for correcting your mistakes. It's a learning tool that can highlight your recurring errors. It's low judgment, high yield practice.
And my favorite part of the midday strategy is what you call the internal monologue swap.
This is the ultimate fluency accelerator. It's free, and you can do it anywhere, anytime.
Explain how it works.
You already spend hours every day talking to yourself in your head. The strategy is to consciously force that internal dialogue into English.
So instead of thinking about your grocery list in your native language,
You do it in English. You can mentally rehearse an upcoming presentation, plan your evening, or even just analyze what's happening around you all in English. It trains your mind to organize thoughts directly in the target language, which really speeds up your intuition.
It's like a secret, invisible practice session happening all day long.
Exactly. And it costs you zero extra time.
Okay, so by the time evening rolls around, your mind is probably tired. So the practice here needs to feel more like enjoyment.
Yes, the evening wind down should be all about relaxed immersion. We want to match our lower energy levels with activities that are highly engaging and fun.
This seems like a great time for speaking practice, maybe for 15 minutes.
It is. If you don't have access to in-person groups, you can use an app like Tandem or HelloTalk to connect with native speakers. But here's the key. Don't just chat aimlessly.
You need a goal.
Have a structured goal for the conversation. Plan a 5-minute debate about a movie you both saw, or practice a specific role play, like a job interview. Structure makes it much more effective.
And after that, you can move into the highly engaging entertainment boost for about 20 minutes.
Find content that you genuinely love to watch. It could be a detailed science explanation on Vsauce or just rewatching episodes of Friends. The key is the strategic use of subtitles.
Tell me about that progression.
You start with subtitles in your native language for maximum context. Then you shift to English subtitles, which helps you match the sounds to the spelling. And finally, the goal is to progress to turning them off entirely. This immersion is what trains your ear to recognize the natural flow and rhythm of connected speech.
Let's not forget about music either.
Music immersion is fantastic for rhythm and pronunciation. You can use dedicated lyrics training apps. Singing along forces your mouth to match the phonetic output to a native cadence.
Are there any particular artists that are good for this?
For clear diction, artists like Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift are often recommended. Their pronunciation is generally very clear. If you want something more challenging and rhythmic, you can even look at podcasts that analyze rap lyrics or poetry.
Now, you mentioned the danger of stagnation. What's the solution to keep the routine from getting boring after a few months?
This is so important. The solution is the power of rotation. Your mind gets bored very easily, and routine can lead to complacency. If you do the exact same thing every single day, you eventually stop learning effectively.
So you need to mix it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We recommend rotating your primary focus on a weekly basis. For example, week 1 could be your grammar and writing focus, where you do high-output activities using a writing app every day.
And week 2?
Week 2 could be your accent and listening focus. You might watch a high-production British TV series and practice shadowing the actor's lines.
And then week 3 could be vocabulary.
Right. A vocabulary and reading focus, where you do intensive reading of long-form articles every day. This variety ensures you're constantly challenging different parts of your brain, and it prevents the routine from ever feeling like a repetitive, boring duty.